Four types.
Connective tissue,
Connective tissue,
muscle tissue,
muscle tissue,
nerve tissue,
nervous tissue,
epithelial tissue.
epithelial tissue. There are four types of animal tissues. Slide కనిపిస్తా ఉందా?
మేడం లేదు మేడం.
లేదా సార్, ఒక నిమిషం. ఇప్పుడు సార్
కనబడుతుంది.
సార్
కనబడుతుంది.
okay. There are four major groups of animal tissues. Number one is epithelial tissue, and number two is connective tissue, and number three is muscle tissue. Last one is nervous tissue. Next, the tissues. What is tissue? A group of cells is called tissue. Next, the more complex, they are more complex than the cells. The tissues are more complex than the cells. Next, epithelial tissue is found in skin, hair, fingernails, and the connective tissue is found in bone, blood, cartilage, and the nervous tissue is found in brain, spinal cord, and nerve. Last one is muscle tissue. The muscle tissue is found in limbs, heart, and stomach. Next, blood contains plasma, red blood cells, and white blood cells, and blood platelets. The plasma is a watery fluid. It contains calcium, salts, and carbon dioxide. And the red blood cells, it is carry oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body. Next, white blood cells. The white blood cells is white in color. The role of the white blood cells is fight infections and diseases. It is fight against cells. And last one is the blood platelets. It produces clots when the body is injured. When the body is injured, the blood will be clot. Next. Next, the detailed account of epithelial tissue. What is epithelial tissue? The epithelial tissue is, it is very thin and it is very flat. It is a delicate lining of the animal tissue. Next, this is called as squamous epithelium. This tissue is called as squamous epithelium. Next, the squamous epithelium tissue is seen in esophagus, lungs of alveoli, and it is where it transport of the substances and selectively occurs to the membrane. What is the selectively permeable membrane? That is the plasma membrane. Okay, we can see squamous epithelial tissue. Squamous epithelium tissue, it is the lungs of alveoli. This is the lungs of alveoli and kidney tubules and blood vessels and lining of mouth. The epithelial tissue found in these parts. Next, the epithelial cells in skin, it is arranged in the form of layers. The epithelial tissue cells of the skin is arranged in the form of layers. This is called as stratified squamous epithelium. This tissue is called as stratified squamous epithelium. The epithelial cells in the skin are arranged in the form of layers. Arranged in the form of layers. This tissue is called as stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified squamous epithelium. Next one. Next, stratified squamous epithelium. The stratified squamous epithelial tissue is found in the skin, mouth, and esophagus, and anal canal and vagina. The stratified squamous epithelial tissue is found in skin, mouth, esophagus, anal canal, and vagina. Last class, these are all discussing about. Next, there are the cuboidal epithelial cells. It is form of the lining of the organs, or lining of the tubules, or lining of the other parts, or lining of the other parts to provide a mechanical support of the organs. To provide a mechanical support of the organs. The cuboidal, this is the cuboidal epithelial tissue. The cuboidal epithelial tissue is from the lining of the organs. Say some organs in our body.
Lungs, kidney,
Lungs, kidney, liver, pancreas. These are all the organs. The cuboidal epithelial cells, it is the lining of the organs, and it is the lining of the tubules, and it is the other parts. It gives a mechanical support. It gives a mechanical support of the organs or tubules. Next. Sometimes a portion of the epithelial cells folds inwards and form a multicellular gland. The portion of the epithelial cells folds inward and form a multicellular gland. Hence, it is called as glandular epithelium. The epithelial cells folds inwards and it is form a multicellular gland. That's why it is called as glandular epithelium. It is called as glandular epithelium. Next one is simple columnar epithelium. Thus, it is form a single layer and it is having tall cells. It is form a single layer and it is having tall cells. It is involved in the process of secretion or absorption. It is involved in the process of secretion and absorption. For example, in our body contain intestine, small intestine. The small intestine contain microvilli. The microvilli is absorb the food materials. The microvilli is hair-like structures. It absorbs the food materials. And next, it is found in the lining of the digestive tract. It is found in the lining of the digestive tract and female reproductive tract. And female reproductive tract. And the columnar epithelial tissue, the intestinal tract is interspersed with the mucus secreting globate cells for protective coating. It is also a protective layer. It is also a protective tissue. The simple columnar epithelial cells, it is forming a single layers and it is having tall cells. What is the function of simple columnar epithelium? It is a secretion or absorption. Secretion or absorption. Where it is found? The simple columnar epithelium is found in the digestive tract, lining of the digestive tract, and it is found in the female reproductive tract. Next, columnar epithelium. Our skin also a kind of epithelial tissue. Our skin is also a kind of epithelial tissue. It is found in nails and hair grow from. Nails and hairs are grow in our skin. Next, the scales of fishes, reptiles and feathers of birds also grow from epithelium. The scales of fishes, reptiles and feathers of birds grow from epithelium. Next, these are modified epithelial cells. These are modified as epithelial cells. The columnar epithelium, the skin is also a kind of epithelial tissue. Where is it found? It founds in the nails and hair. Next, the scales of fishes, reptiles and feathers of birds also grow from the epithelium. These are the modified epithelial cells. Next one is the connective tissue. Where is it present?
Bone, blood, cartilage.
Bone, blood and cartilage. Bone, blood and cartilage. Next, the connective tissue, the internal organs located at specific places. The internal organs is located at the specific places because there is no displacement in organs due to connective tissue. For example, heart, kidneys, lungs, livers, pancreas. These are all the internal organs. It is located in the specific places because there is no displacement in organs due to the connective tissues. Next, they connect organs and muscles. Organs and muscles connect, and these tissues are called as connective tissues. These tissues is called as connective tissues. The connective tissue is a connecting between the organs and muscles. Next, the internal organs are located in the specific places because there is no displacement of the organs. Next, they connect organs and muscles, and the tissue is called as connective tissue. Next, the connective tissue is responsible for the connective tissue is helpful for the other tissues and organs join together and provide a framework, and it is provide a support to the various organs of the body. The connective tissue is responsible for the other tissues and binding of other tissues and other organs together, and it is provide a framework, and it is provide a support to various parts of to various organs of the body. Next, these tissues also the tissue is plays a major role in the transport of materials from one tissue to another tissues. The connective tissue is also plays a major role in the transport of materials from one tissue to another tissue. It is also helping the body defense to protect the body and body repair and storage of fat. The connective tissue is, what is the function of connective tissue? It is helpful for the defense of the body, and it is helpful for the repair of the body, and it is storage of fat. It is storage of fat. Next, the connective tissue is performing different functions. There are so many types of connective tissue. They performing, each tissue is performing different functions. Each tissue is performing different functions. Number one is areolar tissue, and number two is adipose tissue. Number three is bone. Next, cartilage, ligament, and tendon. There are different types of connective tissues. The tissues, each tissue is performing a different functions. Areolar tissue, areolar connective tissue, adipose tissue, bone, and cartilage, ligament, and tendon. Next, first, areolar tissue. It is one type of connective tissue. It is joins different tissues. Areolar tissue is one type of connective tissue. It is joins different tissues. It joins different tissues. And the connective tissue and the areolar tissue is helps in the packing and helps to keep the organ in some places, in particular places. The areolar tissue, it helps in the packing and helps to keep the organs and particular places. These cells are called as fibroblasts. These cells are called as fibroblasts. These are the major components in this type of connective tissue. The fibroblasts. The fibroblasts are the major components in this type of connective tissue. Next, these cells, the fibroblast cells, secrete fibrous material. The fibroblast cells secrete fibrous material. It holds the other tissue in position. The fibroblast, it holds the other tissues in the same position, and these cells also helpful for the repair of tissues when they are injured. The cells, when they are injured, the fibroblasts to repair of the tissues. The fibroblasts to repair of the tissues. Next. The muscles of our body are attached to the skin and bone. This is the connective type of tissue. The muscle of our body are attached to the skin and bone. That is the connective tissue. Next, we can see this type of tissue around blood vessels and nerves. Where is it found? It is found, and we can see in this type of tissue blood vessels and nerves. Next one is adipose tissue. The adipose tissue is the fat storing tissue. The adipose tissue is the fat storing tissue. Where is it found? It is found below the skin and between the internal organs. The adipose tissue is found below the skin and between the internal organ. Next, the cells of this tissue are filled with fat globules. The cells of the tissue are filled with fat globules and storage for fats and also acts as a insulator. It stores the fat molecules. The adipose tissue is a storing of fat and it is found in the below of the skin and between the internal organs, and it is filled with fat globules. What is the function of adipose tissue? The function of the adipose tissue is storage of fat and also it acts on the insulator of the tissue and acts on the insulator of our body. Next one. This is the bone. Bone is also one type of connective tissue. They connect to the muscles and supports to our body. The bone, sir, Tulsi sir.
మేడం చెప్పండి మేడం.
సార్ పిల్లలు చాలా మంది చూడండి అందరూ వీడియో ఆఫ్ చేసుకుంటున్నారు. పవన్ కళ్యాణ్ ఆ సంజయ్ భార్గవ్ అనే వాడైతే అసలు వీడియో వాడి మొహమే కనిపించలే నాకు.
మేడం వీడియో ఆన్ చేయమని చెప్పాను మేడం, కానీ వాళ్ళు ఆఫ్ లోనే ఉన్నారు. కానీ మీరు అప్పుడప్పుడు క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతా ఉండండి, వాళ్ళు రెస్పాన్స్ అయితే ఉండాలని క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగండి మేడం అప్పుడప్పుడు.
సంజయ్ భార్గవ్
బాబు అందరూ వీడియోలు ఆన్ చేసుకోండి.
Next one is the bone. The bone is attached to the muscles. It is responsible for movement of our body. Next, the bone is another type of connective tissue. It forms the framework and supports of the animal body. It is forms the framework and supports of the animal body, and it is a major component of the skeletal system. And it is the skeletal system is made up of bone. So it is a major component of the skeletal system of several vertebrates. Vertebrates means they having spinal cord. They having spinal cord. And some fishes like sharks. Some fishes like sharks. Next, the bone is made up of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. The bone is made up of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. These salts are secreted by cells are called as osteocytes. The bones of the osteocytes. This is the osteocytes. The bone is made up of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. And these salts are secreted by some cells that is called as osteocytes. And the cells are present in the central hollow portion of the bone that is called as bone marrow. The cells, the osteocyte cells, are present in the central hollow portion. This is the central hollow portion of the bone that is called as bone marrow. This is the bone marrow. We can see bone marrow in chicken bones, chicken leg pieces. Next, cartilage. This is also one type of connective tissue. Where is it present? It is found in the joints of the bones. It is found in the joints of bones and tip of the ribs and of the nose. And of the nose. We know our nose is made up of cartilage. And our external ears are made up of cartilage. Our trachea, this is the trachea. The trachea is also made up of cartilage. The cartilage is found in the joints of the bones and tip of the ribs and nose and external ears and trachea. Next, the embryos of several vertebrae do not have bone, but there is having cartilage. Some embryos of the several vertebrates do not have bone, but it is having a cartilage. And the entire skeleton of the fishes like sharks is made up of cartilage. The entire skeleton of the body like fishes, sharks, it is made up of cartilage. The cartilage is hard, but it is not as hard as bone. To compare to the bone, the cartilage is little bit hard to compare to the bone. Next, this is the cartilage. It is found in the joints of the bone. Next, ligament. Next is the ligament. The ligament is also another type of connective tissue. It is also another type of connective tissue. It connects bones and the joints and holds them in the position. This is the ligament. It is also one type of connective tissue. And it is made up of large number of fibers. The ligament is made up of large number of fibers. These fibers are made up of a protein. The protein is called as collagen. The fibers The ligament is made up of a large number of fibers. These fibers is made up of a protein. The protein name was collagen. And this is very elastic in nature. That means it is the stretchable. This is very elastic in nature. Next one is the tendon. The tendon, it is also a type of connective tissue. It is also made up of fibers. It is also made up of fibers. The tendon joins muscle to the bone. This is the tendon. It joins to the muscle and bone. And it is also made up of protein that is called as collagen. And tendon, these two connective tissues are made up of a protein that is called as collagen. That is called as collagen. Next, last one is blood. Blood is also one type of connective tissue. Blood is also one type of connective tissue. There are different types of blood cells in blood, and each blood cell has a different function, and each blood cell has performing a different function. How many types of blood cells? Sanjay Bhargav, how many types of blood cells?
3 madam.
2 types, madam.
What are they?
3 types. 2 types. 3 types are 2. Red blood cells. Red blood cells. చెప్పరా నిన్న అడిగింది మేడం మాట్లాడాను. Red blood cells. Red blood cells. White blood cells. White.
Pranay,
అయిపోయిందా?
2 types, madam.
what are they?
Red blood cells, white blood cells, madam.
There are 3 types of blood cells. Number 1 is red blood cells, white blood cells, and blood platelets. Red blood cells, white blood cells, and blood platelets. And blood also contain plasma. It is the white watery like fluid. And all the cells, all the blood cells are freely floated in the plasma. The plasma is also present in blood. It is the watery like fluid. The blood cells, all blood cells are floating in freely in the plasma. And the extracellular space is filled with fluid. It is called as plasma. The extracellular spaces is filled with fluid. It is called as plasma. There are no fibers in blood. They don't have fibers in blood. Next, and story of blood. Okay, next class we're discussing about the story of blood and blood groups.